Dig a little deeper, see a little clearer. Learn from the people who've been there before. Real stories, real experience, real insight. This is Ace Quiz Masterclass.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is episode 4 of the Assets Masterclass. We're very excited. We've done a good amount of learning in the last 3 weeks. Gaurav is here once again, and this time he's bringing gifts. He's bringing certification vouchers for active people. I know we said that we'll give away one last time, but I don't think we actually let that person know who that voucher was for. Maybe we can announce that today. But we've got 3 vouchers. And usually, whenever we do an event in Quizwiz, we use Mentimeter. Some of you might already know what Mentimeter is. We use Mentimeter, we do a quiz, and then we award the winners. What we started realizing was the same people were winning the vouchers. So, what we are going to do today is we'll have a quiz on YouTube. So you'll have all your voting here, right here itself. And depending on how active you are, Gaurav will pick up 3 names and give away vouchers. The only condition is that you can't be an Atlassian champion. So because you already get vouchers, why do you need vouchers? Let's have our community members win some vouchers today. With that, Gaurav, welcome to episode 4. What are your thoughts?
Thanks for the welcome and welcome everyone. I see people from all across the globe right now on the chat. So really happy to see people here right now. It's been a great journey to be honest. And Sajid, you remember we have been talking about before
Yeah,
we
yeah, oh,
started
of
it, we
course.
talked about it for a long time before it actually happened. So really happy that it happened. Happy to share whatever I have and learn from all the use cases we have had. Some of them have been really interesting. So finally, we are at the end of the journey. Long one, 4 sessions. Uh,
Sure.
Never thought that we would do this bigger series, but yeah, it actually
True.
happened. So happy
Yeah.
to be here.
One thing that I would definitely want to call out is, and like this shows up in the metrics, right? Like while 50 to 100 people watch, but then in the YouTube metrics, I can see more than that, around 40 to 80 people in the last couple of weeks have seen the recorded episodes. And like in YouTube,
Wow.
you can see how long they watched, right? So they watched like 40 minutes or 45 minutes of watch time. So that tells us that people are coming in and listening to you talk about these things very passionately. That's good.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. With that, yeah, I mean, just in the interest of time, I'll hand over the stage to you. We'll again, everybody, if you're joining us for the first time, this is Assets Masterclass. We've done 3 episodes. All of those are on this channel. We are doing this with CSX Masters. CSX Masters is a virtual only Atlassian community. We do anything and everything regarding ITSM, ESM, customer service management. Me and my co-leaders run events in multiple time zones. We've got people in US, APAC, and EMEA. No, nobody's in EMEA yet. But yeah, that's what we do. And there are other masterclasses also running on this channel. There's an AI masterclass that is happening as we speak on every other Wednesday. So if you're interested in that, please join and yeah, get notified of all the sessions that are happening. With that, Gaurav, I'll take myself off video and add the screen sharing.
Sure. Thank you. And let's get started. So what we have till today is how do we launch, how do we expand, and how do we get Rovo to talk about it. And very honestly, Rovo was not planned till the last session. So previous session, based on the feedback we received, based on some of the queries we received, I thought, yeah, it would be a good addition to what we are discussing, what capabilities Rovo brings to assets. a lot of it is still under works. It is still being developed, but we'll talk about what it can do today. So, talking about the agenda, we'll do a series recap. Definitely, we should because it's the last session, and then we'll talk about how to perform an actual implementation. What should be our roadmap? How should we think about what to do and how to do it? Right. We'll check certain implementation metrics that while we are implementing, what should we check about? How should we go about it? I'll be sharing some of my experience and would encourage each and every one of you, if you have some input, some thoughts around it, do definitely share those. I would definitely share a couple of schemas which I have created, as well as some of those which come natively with Atlassian. And we'll also talk about a bit about something which is coming up, which was announced as a part of Teams 26. We'll also look at that as well. Not look at, but we'll talk about that. Last but not least, we'll have quiz time. We'll do the quiz as Sajid mentioned at the beginning. All right, let's get rolling. What we have discussed till now, a quick recap. So we talked about what is assets, what capability it brings to us, what capability it brings to the table, how it can be utilized, how it can deliver a lot of value to us, the power it brings in terms of providing us the visibility, the auditability, and addressing a lot of compliance challenges which companies do have. So we started with that. Then we talked about how we can design it, how what should be our key concerns when we are designing a new schema, and we discussed those key terminologies, the schema, the object type, object attributes. We talked a lot about that. Moving on, once we have designed it, we talked about how do we do data ingestion, what are our various ways to get data into the system, because without the data it's just an empty shell, right? So once we get the data in, the other end, one of the most critical factors is the governance. How do we ensure that, okay, the data that we are getting, what's the quality of that data? Because as the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. So if your data quality is not good, then the whole initiative goes for a toss very quickly. And when I say very quickly, it could be as quick as a month, right? So I've seen those initiatives fizzle out in less than a month, just because when people started using it, they realized, oh, it's not the right data. The data quality is nowhere close to even 10% or 20% of what is expected, right? So that is where the governance comes into place, because when we talk about data quality, we need to understand who controls what. It's when we talk about data quality, it's not only the object data which the quality of which we need to maintain, it's also the schema quality, because schema per se is also data. We are structuring it, we have configured it based on our understanding. So that is what we have talked about till now. And the biggest gap in the execution, we have talked about it throughout every session, is that we plan to do a lot in a single go. So we try to do like a big bang, which ideally is not the right approach for such a scenario, right? So with that, I would move ahead uh, towards what Row can do for us in assets. So before this, I'll take a quick pause. We have got what Row can do for us in on the screen right now, but would like to take a quick pause and check with the audience if there is any question, or if you have any thoughts or something you would like to share. Sajat would need your help on that if
Yeah,
there's
yeah. No
something.
questions yet, Gaurav. But I just posted in chat. If people have any questions, they can ask that.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll wait for that. Rather than waiting as such, what we'll do is we'll keep going, and as the questions come, we would definitely take them up, right? So, Rovo, being in the Atlassian ecosystem, all of us would know what Rovo is all about. So I'll not delve into that and we anyways have the AI masterclass, which would, I believe, touch about Rovo in some session or the other. So, but definitely on a high level, let's talk about what AI in Atlassian do in assets for us today, right? Uh, to be very honest, the AI capabilities right now are evolving, and it is true for every product. AI is expanding itself into every nook and corner of our life. So, yeah, it is ever evolving. But what we can do with Robot today is search the appropriate asset or the appropriate object which we want to do, right? So and a lot of you might say that, oh, why we already have the AQLs to search, why do I need Rovo for that? So think about a schema or an enterprise grade schema, and you are the administrator of that. You created it, let's say, only 3 months ago, but it has got 100,000 objects because we are talking about an enterprise. And let's think of an example for a huge organization which has, let's say, 50,000 employees, offices in 25 countries, all across the globe, footprint, so on and so forth. So having 100,000 objects is pretty common, right? So if a company has got 100,000 objects and with varied object types, if you have to figure out a specific object, think about the AQL which you would need to write to get to that. And as it as the schema and the data or the objects are living organisms or living pieces, they would keep evolving, right? You might add certain attribute here, you might bring more objects tomorrow, so on and so forth. So how do you ensure that you are able to find the right object pretty quickly? Eventually you will get there. It's more about the amount of time you spend in searching for that particular piece. And once you find that, how do you help to how do you define that criterion? So if you spend a lot of time in devising or identifying where that object resides, then it becomes a challenge for you, right? So Rovo helps you come to that own device pretty quickly, identify certain trends around it, right? So you are able to find that, and then you are able to simplify your AQL with that. Once you reach to that object, you can redesign your AQL pretty quickly. Also, what it does is it helps you need not know the exact AQL on day one. And all of us, I don't know, now from, let's say, 5 or 7 years back, when you all of us used to struggle with JQL. Now JQL is kind of child's play as compared to what it used to be. And same is the case with AQL. If you do not write the correct camel casing, the AQL does not work. So what Rovo provides you today is the natural language search. So rather than just going into the system, typing the exact AQL, what you can do is just ask it, okay, how many laptops do I have? Or how many laptops are allocated to a particular device? So on and so forth, anything, right? Another thing what Rovo can do for us, rather than us creating a lot of AQLs and charts and controls, is identifying data or implementing data controls. So if I'm skeptical that whether my data quality is good or bad, if my certain attributes are missing, I would definitely traditionally would apply certain AQLs, write certain AQLs, see the results of it. Maybe that attribute is all good, but in that schema, another attribute could be missing, which would again lead to my data quality being not good, right? Concerns related to data quality, all of those can be surfaced by Rovo very quickly, right? It's all about the time and time to market or time to implementation that we are talking about here. So all of this Rovo can do for us, along with the standard pieces of providing us certain summaries, helping us enrich the workflows, all of that it can do, right? And it can also guide us in terms of certain permissions and controls, that who needs to get what access. Reason being, Rovo works on the TWG, the teamwork graph. It has got a lot of context from all the applications. So that's where it brings a lot of value, right? So as it evolves, I know it is currently being worked upon. Right now, it cannot create schemas or cannot push data for us into the schemas, but those capabilities are being worked upon. So going forward, we might see Rovo helping us design the schema as well, or suggest that what you can have in the schema or what you should have in the schema. If we are talking about, let's say, some of the traditional areas like the IT or the HR spaces, all of those. So those capabilities might come up down the line. But right now, what it can do is what we just discussed. So again, taking a quick pause here to see if there are any questions, any thoughts, if somebody would like to share something.
No questions yet, Gaurav. I think people are just very actively listening to you
All
or
right.
waiting for the quiz.
I believe it's the later that people are waiting for the quiz. Let's
Sure.
get to the quiz and get those vouchers in, right?
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to that, before we get to the quiz part of it and the vouchers part of it, uh, what the key aspect is, we have talked about what is assets, how do we design it, how do we get our data pipelines in, how do we implement the governance, what where Rovo can help us. All of this is great, but how do we start implementing it? So, to give you an example, and this is a real scenario which happened with me in one of my customer engagements. A lot of times we do know a customer would not come and say, "Oh, hey, by the way, I want to implement assets." We as consultants would need to see the signals and identify them. So the example which I was about to quote or I'm sharing with you right now is, I was engaged with a particular customer, helping them on their Atlassian implementation journey, where over a period of, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, something constantly came up, consistently started coming up, which was, oh, we need to procure more laptops. Okay, once in a while, if it comes up, it's okay, but if it started coming up very frequently over the calls. So that's where we started talking to them, to the customer and their senior stakeholders. Why is it that for a period of 4 weeks you're talking about procuring more laptops? What's the scenario? How many laptops do you have? How are you tracking your laptops? So that is how we started on this particular journey, and we started talking to them. We started identifying those signals, right? So once we got them discussing it with us, what happened next was we identified that it's a major problem for them. So the first step was this: okay, identification. What's your key aspect? A lot of times, this was one use case, whereas in another use case, the customer directly came to us. They said, okay, we are using assets. We have got over 180,000 or 1.8 lakh assets already with us, but right now we cannot have that many assets. Ideally we should not have. So the reason being, it's only one division which is using it. Can you help us identify what's good, what's not? So these are two very distinct scenarios in which you can start your journey towards assets implementation. But the crux is, you need to identify a unique use case for the customer. It could be a pain point. Like in both cases, the pain point was very different. In first use case, it was like they were not aware how many devices they have in their system. Whereas in the other use case, they already had a lot of devices in their system, but they were not completely using it or utilizing it. That was not the right approach. So once you have done this identification, next step comes modeling it. When you start modeling it, right, given the context we have today, given we have AI today, if I go and chat with any chatbot, be it Chat GPT, be it Anthropic, be it Gemini, be it Claude, anything, right? I say, okay, help me design a schema for laptops. It would spit out a very good schema with a lot of object types, a lot of attributes, and a lot of detail. But is that the direction we want to go? That is the key question and the key piece which we need to answer and address. We should never start with a big bang, or 200 attributes, or a schema which has got uh, let's say 20 different object types with 20 attributes each, and all of that kind of a big bang we should not ideally do. What we should do is start small. Think about the minimum viable aspect. What would get the customer going in the first aspect? It needs to be an iterative approach. It needs to be a small step every time. So this is where it actually ties in with your agile journey very well, right? You need to take small steps, baby steps. uh, and as the saying goes, we need to start crawling before we can walk, and start walking before we can run, and so on and so forth, right? That is an apt thing in this scenario. So you need to start small. Okay, I want to have laptops. What do I need to track about laptops? Where am I getting my laptops from? Who is my vendor from whom I'm procuring? What type of laptops we as an organization are getting? Is it all MacBooks, or is it like a spread? Okay, I need to identify who the manufacturer is. Then I would like to track where am I storing my laptops or devices. Then I would, as an organization, need to know who owns the device. Right now, if I have allocated a laptop, or if I'm giving away a laptop to an employee, I would need to track that. So I should start with those use cases. And once you have a smaller structure created with yourself, go and talk to your stakeholders. In this, your stakeholder alignment is of paramount importance. It's really critical. I cannot stress less upon it. Until unless they understand what they are signing up for, what they want to actually achieve out of it, it would keep changing, keep evolving, and you would never see the end of the tunnel. Ideally, it doesn't, because over a period of time, your requirements would keep evolving. That's a given for any project. But for assets, your first goal should be, you should tie your first goal that, okay, we'll finish this one first, or we'll project, or we'll move towards getting this particular piece fixed first, right? Once you have done that, you have got your schema, your basic model created. Populate the data. And trust me, a lot of times I've seen schemas break when we start populating the data. Reason being, you have got various data sources. You might envision that all of them have good data, or you might believe that, but that's never a true scenario. It's more like you have to do a lot of data cleansing, a lot of data evaluation, and then a lot of data reconciliation, because you would never have a single source of data. You would always have multiple sources of data. So reconciliation is a reality which you have to address. And the earlier you start addressing it, the better it is for you for the overall engagement, right? Once this, you have got your schema done, you have got your data into the schema, then think about embedding it into your day-to-day workflows. How do you design your service catalog around it? What services this particular schema can provide you? Think about that, start implementing that. Then, before you operationalize all of this, parallelly think about governance. As we talked last time, governance should not be an afterthought. It should be starting with when we are designing our model. We should start thinking about that. Actually, start talking about it, because people think it's a we'll do it, we'll implement the governance layer afterwards, but it doesn't happen. We have to start talking about it, start thinking about it right when we are designing our schema. Who owns this particular object type? Who owns this particular attribute? If tomorrow or 6 months down the line we have to make certain changes to the schema, whose approval is required? These are difficult questions. We might not have all the answers on day one, but we should start putting them, documenting them, if we are not getting the answers, so that over a period of time we can start searching for the answers, right? Once you have got one piece logged in, that okay, this is working fine, then we start expanding it into uh, associated aspects. That okay, this was laptop, similar would be mobile phones, let's do mobile phones. Then we can expand into servers, expand into network devices. And similarly, once we have done the IT aspect, then let's expand into non-IT aspects, like let's pull in the legal team in, let's pull the HR team in, and so on and so forth. So this ideally should be your roadmap or your path towards operationalizing, and you can divide it into six phases or five phases, however you want to do it, right? So this is what it is. I'll quickly move slides. Again, start visible, not massive. We already talked about it, right? uh, yeah, we'll talk about it, but I'll take a quick pause. Would like to know what the audience is thinking about it. What are your thoughts? Have we done any implementation yet, or is it like you have a different approach with which you have done, or whatever it is? Wow,
Oh,
looks like
please
we have
use
a
the.
silent audience
Sorry?
today. Looks like we
Yeah.
have got some silent audience today.
Yeah, definitely. People are maybe just listening to you too intently today, Gaurav.
It looks like you'll be going back with all your vouchers
Tabby
intact.
says she hasn't approached 80 yet.
Oh, okay. All right. That's perfectly fine. Maybe this gives you a roadmap how to approach it. And while we are on it, so once you do it, the reason most of the companies start with IT is because that's where the biggest pain point lies. Second, people do not realize that they can use it beyond IT. A lot of times, when we talk about enterprise service management, it's more like it's a concept right now, but people do not envision it that they can start without IT, right? So that is a big aspect. Oh, I see a
We have a
question pop.
question. Yeah.
So
This is,
most
yeah. Go
common
ahead, go ahead,
schema
Gaurav.
design mistake, what I have seen is we do not define the unique identifier properly. So what happens is when you import the data, and this is a real scenario I've seen. So a lot of times, when we talk about devices, the hash value of your device is thought of as unique. But while it is unique, it changes every time. So you increase the memory utilization on your laptop, your hash value of your laptop changes. So today, a laptop which has, let's say, 1 terabyte of memory, uses 100 gigs only, it would have a hash value. Tomorrow, when you're doing your second discovery or your repeat discovery, regular updates, that laptop uses another 100 bytes of it. So your hash value would change. The hash value of that laptop would change. And it's a very common problem not envisioning what your unique identifier is. What it leads to is, in your import mechanism, you think these are two different devices, whereas ideally it is one unique device. So next, immediate answer could be that okay, I'll talk about serial number. I'll use for still talking about laptops. One scenario could be okay, I'll use serial number as my unique identifier. A fair choice, a fair answer, but then again depends upon what your data inputs or data sources are. Because I've had scenarios where the field which was carrying, or which the attribute which I identified as serial number in my organization, the partner organizations were treating it differently. So the imports which I was making, those were again, those were erroring out, those were failing significantly. So when we talk about design schema, we have to think from all aspects, from all avenues, that okay, I how do I import the data, what would be my attributes, and all of those things, right? So that's a big answer, and that's where starting small and doing your import early helps significantly on that aspect. Hope that answers the question. I believe it is Shivam, if I'm not wrong. Going by the tag which is Atlassian Community Faridabad, I'm thinking it's Shivam or Sushant, either of those two.
Or their account was hacked. That's always
Probably.
possible.
I hope
We have
not.
another question.
I really hope not.
Uh, Rune Rasmussen says, my largest hurdle has been the governance part and really explaining why we can't just figure it out as we go.
Okay, why we can't figure it out as we go is because, as you say, as you go, let's suppose you create your schema, right? And you have started using it. If you haven't implemented your governance layer and you are trying of, uh, you know, trying to figure out who would own it, who owns the changes which happens in this duration, while the time you have gone between the time you have gone live and between by the time you figure out who owns it. How do you make a change? How do you hold somebody responsible that they have made a change which was not approved? So that is the reason. And we cannot, it's more like, oh, I'll host my application on this server, anybody can go and make a change, we'll see who makes the change and who owns this. We cannot do that, never. Because what would happen is the data quality uh, actually goes bad really quickly in this scenario. Because what if somebody deletes a complete attribute? Every data, every object type which has a value in that attribute is now stale, is now obsolete, is now corrupted. So how do you handle those scenarios? So that is why getting your governance layer right, addressing that particular, I would say, beast in the room right up front is of critical importance, right? I hope that answers the question which is on the screen. All right. Any other questions? I believe we have got a couple more.
Yeah, yeah. When setting up attributes for an object, is it better to use text field or simple default types versus other object? Example, people is greater than location.
Okay, interesting question. And uh, Jeffrey, there's no straight answer or a direct answer to that. You have to evaluate what you are referring to as an attribute. So if this is a value which is gonna change very frequently and makes sense being stored as a separate objects in its own right, then definitely objects, or objects is the way to go. And keeping everything as a text field is, in my opinion, not the right approach. Reason being, when you go for searches, it becomes cumbersome. When you go for AQLs, it becomes literally becomes challenging to identify that. So you'll have to strike that fine balance between using the text field versus not using the text field, and when to use it as an object. So the example you said, people to location, definitely I would say in the people schema or the people object type, I would have location as an object. Reason being, if I have to do a reverse search, that okay, one is this person is at what location? Simple answer. How many people are at this location? And now if I'm moving location, right, let's suppose uh, companies switch office. So right now we have an office in city A. We say that okay, we are closing our office in city A. We are moving to city B, for example, right? So what happens is it is easier for maintenance as well. You mark your office closed. Everybody who is a part of office A or city A becomes part of city B. It is easier for maintenance and auditability. It keeps a track that okay, we had an office or we had a location in city A, those kind of scenarios. So it's a tricky answer. I know it's not a straight yes or a no, or use this or use that. We have to strike that fine balance between what we want to use and what value does it bring to us. Hope that helps you. All right, let's move ahead.
One more question from Guru Prasad.
You're asking the wrong person this question. Overcomplicating is my specialty. So, overcomplicating things is my specialty. But yeah, it's a very valid question. Again, I'm seeing really good questions on in the session today, right? So when you say overcomplicating, it basically, and I'm assuming this is your intent, that we are not overdoing the relationships, right? If that is your intent, then starting small, starting with bare minimum aspects, both in terms of object types as well as relationship, that's the direction to go. You need to think that okay, if I connect it to another object, what value does it bring to me? Or is it worthwhile to just have it as text data or plain simple data? Maybe as a drop down, uh, maybe as a status, or maybe as a select value if that brings select option if that brings value to me. So you'll have to think about those aspects, that if I do not create this relationship, what am I losing out on? And there's no fixed answer to that, to be honest, because given the scenario, given what your organization needs, what your use case needs, in one scenario we might go for that particular relationship between two objects or two object types, whereas in a completely different scenario we might say, oh no, it would overcomplicate it. So it's a more scenario based answer rather than just a black and white yes or a no, right? So you'll have to think about that. Having said all of this, there are some very simple, straightforward answers that okay, you should have this kind of a relationship. Whereas for a simple reason, example, employee to manager, it's a no-brainer, right? And I believe you're not going into that simpler aspect. You're going more into an enterprise grade schema where you want to think that okay, does my firewall connect to every server I want or every policy in the system, or does it pertain to some simpler ones or some limited ones? I believe you're thinking on those particular lines, right? Do I have every firewall or firewall related to all my nodes? Something of that sort is what you're thinking about, as I'm guessing. If not, please share your thoughts on that. I just saw the comment which I'm pretty sure I can call. I cannot pronounce your name correctly, so I'll call you Eva, if that's okay. So, how assets should be used within a company? So what we here at Atlassian are right now doing is, this is what I wanted to touch upon, and thank you for bringing it up. Uh, Till now, what Atlassian has been doing is, whenever you get the assets module, you were getting certain schemas. But now what we are doing is we are coming up with our POV of how your ham setup should look like. It would be released in about a month or so. It was announced in Teams 26. So we are working towards that. And soon, once we do that, after that, it would be the SAM aspect of it. with license management and all. So that template is coming up, is something which we are doing. Do's and don'ts. It's a very loose term in my opinion, because it again depends from organization to organization. But I would check if we have some high level guidelines on it, or if we can start working towards that, so that we have the base, a good base setup for all of us. That's what I can say right now on this one. Yep. I was hoping I would use that, Sajat, here at Atlassian. It's been a while now for me here at
Of
Atlassian.
course.
So happy to use that now.
Nice.
All right. Now coming back, that okay, we have got the usually do the IT assets first, right?
We've got more questions, Gaurav. We just
Sure. Yeah. On how to deal with objects created under the wrong object type. This is an interesting one. Again, you'll have to see, when you say objects are created under the wrong object type. Are you importing these objects, or are you bringing in some from some secondary data source? If yes, then you need to think about that. Uh, you want to keep the object history and you cannot move it. That's very true. So what you would need to do is you would probably kind of mark them obsolete and link them to the new object which you are creating. But before you do that, you need to identify the root cause of it. Why did it happen? The reason I'm stressing upon this is it has happened once. How do you ensure that it doesn't happen again? So that's a key aspect you need to address, right? So while you're working towards fixing it, also think about how you can avoid it going forward. So the best approach in this scenario, once you have identified and you have fixed the root cause, for the existing objects which have been created under iPhone, how many ever they are, you maybe put in a specific status. You create a separate status so that you can tag them, you can identify them over a period of time, and then document it as well, so that come tomorrow, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, you're not scratching your head that, oh, what is it for, right? So that is my opinion, that is my suggestion for you to handle this particular scenario. All right. Hope moving ahead. So now that we have got IT done, what happens is if we move into different domains, right? We expand into different domains. There are a lot of factors which we can reuse, right? If we talk about IT, employee is a given which we can reuse. Employee or people aspect would already be created by IT, and then when we are talking about HR, that's the backbone of HR. So we can use that. Similarly, for facilities, when we expand into facilities, locations is another aspect, or your vendors would be another aspect, which would provide you a lot of reuse or overlap capability, so on and so forth. So once you start evolving into other domains, you would see that there are a lot of reuse capabilities or overlaps between your existing schema. So you need to think about those as well, not just every time creating a new schema. Think about what you can reuse, what you can, if there is an overlap, that actually saves time, helps you implement at a faster pace, right? All right. Yeah. Again, clear rules drive sustained value. It's a given. Again, we are talking about governance. Uh, One thing is, a lot of companies feel, oh, we have got X number of objects in our CMDB. Okay, fair enough. That's a great metric to have. But what value is it providing you? Having tens of hundreds of thousands of objects in the schema is at times of no use. And trust me when I say no use, because if it is not the right data, if it is not the correct aspect of the data which you have in the schema, it brings no value to the organization. And then once you lose trust of the customers, of your sponsors in the program, getting that back is really very challenging. So think about the data governance and data population very seriously. Okay, matrix. This is something which a lot of people have asked me over a period of time, and this is my first stab at it. That how do you measure value when you are talking about doing such an implementation? One of the biggest aspects, biggest piece is user adoption rate. What's the end user saying? Is it providing any value to them? Are they adopting to it? I know every time it would be different, it would be difficult because every organization has their own set ways of doing something, and we as humans do not want to change. That's a given for any implementation, not only assets, any implementation goes through that particular challenge. So your org change comes into play here. So you'll have to coordinate with who your early adopters are, who your distractors are, who your promoters are. You need to have that mapped out and then go for it, right? Uh, Time to first value definitely goes without saying. Data coverage and data completeness. When we talk about data coverage and data completeness, I'll always prefer completeness over coverage. Reason being, if I've got 10 records versus I've got 5 records, I'm taking very small examples. Reason being, if I've got 10 records with only the names of the record or the names of the device or the name of the object, that gives me zero value at all. Whereas if I've got only 50% of the objects, but I've got every detail of it, that means I've got a lot of value out of it. At least I can trace it back where it originated from, who owns it today, who from where is it coming, what's its life cycle, and all of that. I can provide some value out of it. Whereas if I've just got the names, I cannot provide any value, right? So workflow coverage also goes hand in hand with data completeness. If I do not have data completeness, my workflow coverage cannot be significant, and that's what we need to measure all of this. Next comes stakeholder cadence. Definitely I would want my stakeholders to tell me what is going on, what is their thought process around all of it. Last but not the least is the trust. How much trust do I place in my data? As we talked in the last session, right? Do I stake my job on this particular data piece? If the answer is yes, then we are in the right direction. If it's a dicey, then we have to think about where my data is coming from or how do I structure my data better, right? All right. What it looks like. We have talked about it significantly, so I'll skip this. Last but not the least, something which I think I've been harping upon from day one or session one. Don't try to start with a big bang. Do a complete enterprise level setup on day one. Let's not do that. I've seen a lot of engagements fail, a lot of such initiatives fail significantly just because we did not size it right. We did not focus on the uh, key use case. Identify a use case, I implement that, replicate that. So that is where a lot of value, a lot of success would come. So I believe this was something which I said in the first session, and I would like to end the session with this and give you rest of the 10 minutes for the quiz. So that's all I had as a part of the masterclass. It was great interacting with all of you. I hope I was able to provide some value to the group, and a big thank you from my side.
That's awesome. So we're still not done. Of course, we are going to now do a quiz and let's see what people have learned. All right. So very simple way to do this quiz, folks. The question will show up on your screen. Looking at the options, you just have to type that option out in the comment. So the first question is, how is JSM assets best described in context of ESM? Standalone IT inventory of serial numbers, shared context and relationships, replacement for spreadsheets, or very expensive address book. You can write 1, 2, 3, 4 both also, but it has to be separate numbers in the comments. Uh, what do you think, Gaurav? Oh, we can't hear you, Gaurav.
It put me on mute. So I
No,
would
I
say it's a.
didn't. I tried to unmute. It says can't unmute your guest because they muted themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was trying to stop sharing my screen, but it think it put me on mute as well. Yeah, I would say it's a very expensive address book. Not only an address book, but it's a very expensive tool for any organization all across
Sure.
whatever we talk about. Yeah,
No, but yes, that is correct. It's a shared context of relationships, but it can also be a replacement for spreadsheets, right? What do you think?
it can be. So if an organization is doing it via spreadsheets, doing their asset management today via spreadsheets, then yes, it's a replacement. But then again, having said that, replacement spreadsheets do not give you relationships. So
That's true.
it
Until you
has to
manually like use arrows and like
think of it
I've seen
as an
diagrams like
enterprise
this.
level.
Yeah,
Would
I've
you like to
seen
do for
diagrams
your
like that. No,
organization?
no, 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 no. Oh, come on, please, no. Uh, okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next question. Stopping this one and showing the next one. What is the correct hierarchy of core assets concepts from broadest to most specific? This much might be a little tricky for some people if you've not joined the first session or the second session.
But we've talked about it even
Yeah,
after the
today also.
say
Yeah,
first
we
or the
have.
second session.
Okay. Schema, object type, object, and attribute. That's what one person has said, or a few people have said. Actually, everybody is saying that.
Everybody has said that.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Good. Maybe we need to have tougher answers so that people,
Yeah.
mess up, Gaurav. Okay, I'll stop the poll on that one because literally everybody said the same thing. Let's look at the next one. Which business domains are highlighted as benefiting from connected assets modeling? Which one is a business domain that is highlighted as benefiting? Are you guys not seeing the poll? Suddenly the answers have stopped.
Yeah, I was about to say, is the question not visible?
There we go. Yeah, there
Yeah,
might like it might be a StreamYard versus YouTube thing,
could be.
how it is questioning. Yeah. Okay. Again, everybody is giving the right answer. Have you like given out the answers earlier, Gaurav? Maybe people are just nobody's giving a wrong answer. Nice.
I'm surprised with that. Is it too easy or is it like too obvious?
Maybe just everybody is focusing and like listening. Like nobody's selecting the wrong answer at all. Any question. Okay. That's good. Let's see if we can continue this. We have a bunch more coming your way. Let me hide this one and show you the next one. What is the best design principle for schema? Oh, stop poll, start and show. There we go. Best schema design principle. Model everything on day one, max out the attributes, start small, focus on value, or copy someone else's schema. For me, it's D. Always copy from someone else. Never start scratch. Tabby says it feels wrong to type 2 again. Nice. Okay. Start small and focus on value. Everybody is saying that.
Good.
Yeah. Shamsari doesn't have the fastest fingers point. Folks can copy each other's answers. That's right. This is not Mentimeter, so you don't
Yep.
have to.
Menti
But
had that.
yes, Menti does. All right. Still, see, this is the idea at the end of the day, folks, is just a revision, right? This question that Gaurav have created just trying to revise everything. If you guys select the wrong answers, then I'll make Gaurav speak about that more and extend this session by a couple more minutes. But looks like Gaurav has done a good job. People know what they are voting for. Okay, assets field value. Let me remove this poll and show you the next one. Assets field adds value by 10,000 plus objects existing. Decisions are faster and better. Everybody knows the schema or governance needs. I had to tweak some of the text, Gaurav, you might notice from the ones that you
That's
had
okay.
because the poll can't take the full sentences.
Mhm.
Let's see. This one's making people think a little. This one has got people split. What do you think, Gaurav?
I would go with two.
Okay. So
So
decisions fast and better, but like governance meets daily.
governance meets daily basic. It's not daily, it's every time.
Sure.
Daily is more like, yeah, daily at
Yeah,
9
you
a.m.
do once. Sure.
With every decision, your governance is implicit. That's where your
Hmm.
decisions are faster, that's why your decisions are better. So governance is implicit when you are doing assets and if you have implemented them well. So I would go with two here.
Okay. All right. One question where we were able to split the audience just a little bit. Let me stop and let's check the next one. What is the best way for a sync? Two ways, source system, uniform random bidirectional sync, or one way from destination systems? What is the recommended sync? Okay, we're still having, I think, that issue again.
Yep.
Now options are coming in. Okay, here we go. Suddenly we got a bunch of it. Or people are thinking maybe. It takes a little time, maybe. It's the live
Looks
stream
like
lag. Yeah. Okay. Some people say one way from source. Few people have said destination also. Few people are saying two ways also. And some people are saying random and bidirectional as well. Why it should always be one way from source systems? Ka?
if it's not unidirectional, how do you ensure the data clarity? Who owns the data? What's your golden source of truth? So that's where it should be always from whatever source you have into assets. Assets doesn't go back and write to that system. To give you an example, right? Uh, this is where your sanity checks would also come into play. Let's suppose you request for a laptop or I request for a laptop. Assets allocate it to Gaurav Gupta. Come tomorrow, Intune reports that this is owned by Sajat or Sajat has logged into this laptop. So you have a discrepancy. If assets goes back and writes onto Intune system, then you are losing that kind of discrepancy where you need to have some sort of sanity or security check that why a device which is allocated to Gaurav is being logged in by Sajat. So this is a very simple scenario and companies want this kind of data validations. So
Mhm.
this might become, this is sounds like simple, but might become a huge security risk over a period of time. That who is logging into a system or a device which is logged in, which is owned by Gaurav or which is allocated to Gaurav. So
Makes
that's
sense.
why you need to bring in the data, identify such discrepancies, and flag them.
All right. Let's look at the next one. The next one says, who is the steward of the data? PMDB flight attendant, owner of data quality, a senior executive, or a AI cleanup bot that you created? What is the steward? CMDB flight attendant sounds good.
I would say AI cleanup bot because that's what I'm working on. I would love to have that who can clean up all my data. I would love to
Sure.
have that.
Hmm. You say it's a owner of data quality.
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay. Yep. Again, all the answers going in that direction. So that means you guys have been listening to what Gaurav was saying. I think we've got three more questions. Let's look at the next one. Biggest trust risk. Is it too few users, duplicate stale data, and no owner? Is it creative payment ideas or schema names in Hindi? You can definitely see four as an option. You're right. You're right. You are. That's a red herring, and then suddenly, you change it. That is right. Just like we're making it easy for you to type one character only. That's right. Again, the majority is correct.
I did
Duplicate
not
still data. No.
shuffle them up properly, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, everybody again, good job. I'll stop this one and show you the next one. What is the stable identifiers for? Consistent names, matching record across system, locking objects, or creating passwords. All right, not seeing the answers yet. Okay, there's somebody who selected consistent names also. Why do you think stable identifiers are for? Let's first ask you, what do you think is it for?
I would say stable identifiers are to ensure that you have got consistent data across the systems.
Hmm.
Because
And
if
sure.
you're importing from four different sources, right, you need to have stable identifiers between system one, two, three. You have to have those combinations logged in, right? So that's what consistent names. Different systems can have different names or naming conventions. So to again going back to my example where we were importing from two different vendors, right? Those organizations for a simple laptop had a different naming convention, whereas our organization had a different naming convention. So consistent names is not the right approach.
Hmm. Sure. Okay, last question. I changed the question a little bit so that the answer is not in the second one at least. Last
That's a
question.
big
What is the key scaling
difference.
factor? Yeah. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Key scaling factor. More admins working overtime, big bang like the universe. Just take over or merge into a company which already has done it. Or do executive support and do a phased expansion. What is the correct answer? Yes, Big Bang. You're right, Tabby. That's right. Okay, okay. Everybody says phased expansion and executive support. When you do a phased expansion, Gaurav, are there any tips that you recommend to people?
Whenever we
Like,
do
in
talk about,
what lines should they divide the phases up?
so think about what brings you the most value, what's your most lowest hanging fruit, start with that. And when you're doing, let's say, a subsequent phase, think about how do you expand or naturally grow it into a bigger aspect rather than just taking a radically different approach. Think what is what could be a natural succession for this particular piece, right? A
Hmm.
lot of times I understand it could be governed by the organizational needs and demands. I completely understand that, but we have to think about how it can bring you value, because then you might end up with two very distinct, disconnected sets, which later would merge, because since the organization is one, they would later converge, and then uh, you might end up in different problems at a later point of time. Because how do you marry set one with set two? There would have to have some sort of combination or connection between the two. So that is how your phases should be. It should be a natural evolution kind of a scenario, not just radically different aspects.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Again, everybody has answered correctly. So with that, we can stop the poll. What do you think? Who we should give the vouchers to?
It's difficult to keep track on YouTube to keep a,
That's true.
find out who said uh, answered first or answered correctly. So yeah,
But
it
like,
would be.
yeah. So one classification that you specifically said is no champions will win today's voucher, right? So what
Yes.
we can say is, uh, like
Shivam
if
is
you
out of
want vouchers, yeah.
Sorry,
See, this is
Shivam.
nice, right? See, Dagny saying Tabby's name is such a nice thing. We can give one voucher to Dagny, Eva one, and one voucher to Tabby. I
One to
feel like
Danny,
one voucher we should definitely. Sorry,
I think one to Danny, one to Tabby, and one I believe should go to
the
Rasmussen.
Rasmussen rune, yeah, rune
Yeah,
Rasmussen. That's what I was saying
yeah.
because he actually had a very interesting point earlier in the session as well. So we'll all
Oh,
three of you. Sorry.
Danny is a champion. She just
Oh,
mentioned.
perfect. So you can then pick somebody else. That's
Then
that's what today is all about. See, we
Jeffrey.
actually did this in Anaheim. So there were a bunch of people who won the "Are You Smarter Than a Jira Admin" quiz. And what I do in these in-person quizzes is I print the code out on a paper and give it to them, so
Oh,
that
nice.
they can then give it to somebody as a surprise or as a gift.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like I think within 15 minutes, somebody had already taken all the champions' code. But that
yeah.
was nice. All right, so we'll give you one code, Agni, and you can choose who you want to give it to. That will be,
Absolutely.
I guess, a nice. Also, the three names are we have Tabby Dagny, and Rune Rasmussen. Please, if you can, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will just post my. There we go. That is. Oh, I didn't. Okay, there it is. This is my LinkedIn ID. Please ping me up on LinkedIn, and because it's very tough to search LinkedIn for Dagny Eva one or Rune Rasmussen 45375. Please ping me on LinkedIn, and I would be very happy to give you your certification voucher. You can use it, or you can give it to somebody else as well as a giveaway. Thank you so much, Gaurav. I don't have a certification voucher for you because you don't need them anymore. You've quit the ecosystem and joined the mothership. But thank you for doing this. This was, as you said earlier, a long time coming. And yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. See you all there later on. And then, yeah,
Yes,
we'll catch up in some other session,
yes,
which
we'll
we'll plan
we'll
sometime.
definitely maybe have now something around CSM or ITSM. You'll keep seeing Gaurav in one way or the other in the Quizbiz or the CSX Masters community. Thank you, everybody. Do make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. My friend Rob keeps asking me to say this. I keep forgetting that I am also supposed to be a content creator. I don't think I am. I do a terrible job of telling people to subscribe to the channel. But please subscribe to the channel also, guys. So you'll get notification. With that, thank you everybody. Have a very good day. Thank you for joining for this 4-week asset masterclass. If you have any questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to Gaurav, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Dig a little deeper.